Hello, I just want to touch base with you on the week 4 p.m. tools. Um, we're going to go ahead and start with time, and then I'll do a separate video on procurement and cost because time will actually take the longest for me to explain. But I think it's something that if you find this useful, can really help you kind of begin to bring all of these pieces together. So when this course was designed, okay, there was a project schedule management plan that was included in this. I don't believe that if you fill this out, that it will help you really understand or learn what the action plan is with a Gantt chart. I think that if you use this action plan with Gantt chart right here, that it will actually give you the best possible understanding of this material. And the reason I say that is because this is actually helping you learn how to, once you've scoped your project, how to actually put it into action. It's an action plan. So we're going to, and I'm just going to do a quick overview and then I'll come back. We're going to put all of our tasks in, and what's going to end up happening is we're going to come up with a chart that will show us how long each task will take, when it starts, when it ends, and when then, as we work through each task, when will the final project be completed or the final task of the project be completed. This helps us determine not only what the longevity of each task will be, but it also helps us determine when realistically is this project going to end. If we have all of the labor hours that we need included in each one of these tasks, then when is the earliest that we'll be able to realistically finish this project? So I'll give you an example. I go into businesses and I help them revamp their entire financial department. And what we do is we list out everything that we're going to do for them, and I literally list out every single step. And then I'm able to come back and figure out how long each step is going to take me, and then I'm able to actually give them a realistic timeline. We're going to start on March 1st, but we're going to be done June 1 by the time we get every step completed. And I will often break these into phases, meaning there's a phase 1, a phase 2, and a phase 3, so that we can kind of close out one phase and begin the next. That doesn't necessarily translate to manufacturing, but it works well in the service industry when you're performing a service. So I'm going to back up for a minute, and I'm going to take you back to the course, and I want to explain to you how we arrived at the Gantt chart. And again, this is kind of an overview for you so that you're able to connect the dots. In week 2, when you started with your project proposal, you basically came back and said, okay, you listed out your scope. Here's my major project activities. My major project A, major project B, major project C. Okay? And what you did then was you came down and put in your major milestones and what those dates were. So if I were to revamp someone's financial department, the first thing that I would be doing is I would be assessing. This would be my phase 1, okay? Sorry for having to scroll. My phase 1 would be my assessment period. My phase 2 is where I'm actually doing the work. I'm changing everything, revamping everything. I'm in the middle of getting them straightened around from A to Z. I'm putting all of the procedures in place. I'm doing many things. And phase 3 for me typically will mean that I'm then taking them into maintenance mode and getting them down the track long term with what they need for their financial department so that they can get sound financials. So I typically always break every one of my projects up into 3 phases. So on a proposal, my major project activities are phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. I would have in my major milestones, I would have phase 1, And then I would list out the dates, when that would start, if it's, Feb 1, 2017, my phase 2, etc. And so I literally would bring the major project activities down into these major milestones so that they know exactly when we're going to start and end one phase and start and end the next phase. Okay, so maybe this is April 1. And so, and actually this would be a shorter timeline. So March 1, phase 3, would be May 1, because this phase is going to take me the longest. Getting them into maintenance mode will be the shortest. And then, of course, our project completion is going to be June 1, okay? So we literally took these major project activities and I attached my major milestone dates to them. Now, I really can't get to this major milestone or the major project activities without breaking out my project, although we introduce you to the project proposal first, okay? Let's come back to our PM tools in the next week. You then created your scope, which is similar to the initiation, the proposal. And you listed out again, here's my major project activities, my deliverables and costs, and here's my schedule overview. Okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to come into week 4. And in time, you're going to fill out your action plan with your Gantt chart. Okay. So now I might have had, my first one was phase 1, correct? My second phase, which it wouldn't be this simple, it might be at 10, where I'm now into phase 2, and it might be at step 30 that I'm into phase 3. Okay? So there's going to be a lot of steps that are included in phase 1. Everything that it's going to take me from very beginning to end. And then all of my steps will be listed out in my phase 2 and all of my steps in my phase 3. Now, why do they put 1, 1.1, 1.2? If you remember going back to last week when you looked at, we didn't fill it out, the work breakdown structures, but it talks about it in the readings that you've completed. It said, okay, we're going to break out each of these individual tasks. And maybe phase 1 has 3 or 4 steps. And I think actually I'm going to go ahead and just insert a row and put my phase 1 up here. Oops, sorry. So my first step would be to check their trial balance and find out how far back I go to the tax return. That's my very first step. But maybe in order to do that, I need to have a meeting with the CPA, and I need to review their general journal entries before I can move on to the next step, which maybe the next step then is reassessing the chart of accounts and making sure that they're set up appropriately. And maybe a part of that will be designing the layout for this particular business, and then maybe reordering them by the numbers. And so we can continue to go dial down into each task. So here's one task, but here's the sub-tasks that need to be completed. Here's the second task, but it's going to take me maybe 4 steps before I get to my next task. And so really all this is doing is just telling you here's a major category and here are the subcategories. If this is confusing to you, then just do this. Just list out every major step, okay? And that way you can break it down into everything from 1 to, let's say I've got 45 steps by the time I get done with phase 3. And you'll list out every single task that it's going to take you in order to complete your project, which would bring me down to line 45. So when I get done with this Gantt schedule, I am going to have 45 rows or 30 rows or 25 rows, however many rows that you have for your project. Then what I start doing is estimating when is my start date, okay, for this first step. And I think this chart actually probably goes by putting your date in this way. And then what we're going to do is we're going to bring out, what is the date, how many days or how many hours is it going to take me to do the first part of this trial balance. And what happens is I just keep building on my schedule, and I go through every single step and I build the schedule until I'm all the way done with my project at step 45. Now, when I've been able to assess how long this project is going to take me and the minimum number of days that I need in order to get this project completed, then I have just found my critical path. This is the minimum amount of days that it's going to take me realistically to get from step 1 through step 45, or task 1 through task 45. And so it's really important that you take the time to do this, or else you will never be able to come in on time in your project because you haven't taken the time to kind of break out each individual step. Sounds laborious, but after you have done this, it gives you a realistic schedule that you can count on. Will things change? Yeah. And will we need to probably put some buffers in? Yes. But this gives you your critical path. And so you now have a full schedule that you can rely on for your project and propose and show to the as you're planning, to your sponsor, to your client, to your customer, whoever that might be. Now, Excel spreadsheets and how this works can feel a little antiquated if you do project management all of the time. Okay, for the purposes of this class, it's great. It doesn't cost anything. It's right here. I use something different, and I just want to share it with you. I use what's called Reich Project Management. And this is actually a tool that I use for all of my projects. People wonder, how can I possibly come in on budget and on time with a high quality project almost every time I propose it? But that's because I take the time to figure out exactly how many steps it's going to take me in this project and how long it's going to take me to get there. So I set their expectations very realistically. The one thing I love about Reich is that this will actually give me the critical path. And all I have to do, I'll just show you what mine looks like right now. This was a project that I was working on, but it literally lays everything out for me on a timeline. Now I can put it in a table, or I can put it in a list, whichever way I want to see it. But if I am looking, at my timelines and my proposals, I will typically put it in here and calculate what my critical path is. It allows me 95% of the time to be on time, on budget, and on schedule with a high quality project. And so if you do project management all the time, you can use really cool applications like Reich or any other, probably hundreds of project management programs that they have out there. So this is what your action plan with a Gantt chart is going to look like. Now, I don't necessarily like this specific Gantt chart. If you have one that you use for work already and you like it, go ahead and submit that one. I will accept any Gantt chart that you want to use if you don't necessarily like how this particular one in Excel is laid out. So that is how, what you're going to do, and this is what you're going to turn in. You do not need to even pay attention to these two. This one right here just really doesn't even serve it justice. This is kind of if you're just laying things out with words. It doesn't give you a scheduled timeline. I've seen students use this in the past, and I think that it really can almost hurt them because it doesn't force you to put your schedule into this Gantt chart. I think that you'll be far more successful if you learn to use one of these and feel comfortable with it. And you'll be able to accomplish great things with coming in on time on all of the projects that you run. So that's what you're going to do for time. Apologize for the scrolling. In this template, just one template. I'll set up another video. You're just going to turn in one template for procurement and one template for cost. If you have any questions at all about time, please reach out to me, email me, call me. I'm always available to talk if anything seems very unclear. I want you to really grasp these concepts so that you can be successful, take these out into the workforce, and use them on a regular basis. Thanks so much.